whenever. It can happen at 3 a.m. in the morning and my eyes pop open. I have it. I have to write it. And so I'm usually tapping it on my phone like a crazy woman and then going back to sleep. No, I don't have regular. I try to be regular, interacting on socials, interacting with my readers. But for writing, it's whenever it happens, I have to write.
Welcome to Raising Baby Authors. I'm Cassia, your host and a brand new writer. If you feel overwhelmed and lost about this whole writing thing, you're certainly not alone. Join me while I pester my author guests for writing advice and find out how they do it. Because if they could, then why not you? It truly takes a village to raise an author, so let me share my village with you. Hello, dear listener, and welcome back to the classroom. Thank you so much for giving me your time and attention. And let's meet our new mentor today. It's author Sienna Zini. When she's not writing spicy happily ever afters, you might find her reading, whipping up a delicious meal, reveling in the beauty of nature, or exploring new corners of the world. After years spent crunching numbers and growing her accounting company, always weaving stories in her head, she finally took the leap in 2022 and pursued her lifelong dream of publishing her first book. What fuels her passion? A deep love for good story and the many characters who take root in her mind, demanding their tales to be told. The joy of bringing heartwarming love stories to life keeps her constantly creating. So stay tuned for what's coming next. Oh, hi, Sienna. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for agreeing to talk to me. I'm so happy we could chat. And I already got some idea on how you started, but that is a traditional first question for me is your background. Did you always want to write? How did you actually decide to start writing?
So I always wanted to be a writer, but looked like, a dream, something impossible to achieve. And at some point I gave up, started the adult life. I took a degree in law, worked in my accountant company, and I I can't say I forgot about it, but I mostly gave up. Then in 2016, I had to move to India for work, and I stayed there 1 year, and that changed my perspective. So little by little, I started, closing the company, changing my life around. Finally, I started to write and I couldn't stop. I didn't say anything to anyone, but at some point, everyone was asking me if I was going Beautiful Mind or I was writing a book. So I had to admit it. And I sent it a little bit around, asked friends, and they said, publish it, is good, is good, is good. So I went with it, and so my first book was born. And after that, I decided I'll give myself time and grace. This is my dream, so I want to try. I want to achieve it, and it's a joy in itself to hold my books in my hands and know I did them. So I wrote them. They are my babies in a way.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I didn't know that like the first people that you gave your book to read to were your friends and family, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
So you were lucky enough to have people in your circle that were encouraging to you and were interested and convinced you to publish it. That's amazing.
Absolutely. Really, really lucky. I have some really good friends, and
Any of those friends writers or
no. One of them is a really creative person. So all her family is. The cover of two of my books, my Mafia duet, was done by her daughter. They are creative, but not writing books for now. But they totally can.
So you have decided to publish your first book. Did you decide on how to publish it right away, like traditionally or indie? Did you have any other options?
I thought a long and hard, and knowing myself, I decided to go indie for the simple reason that I want complete control on what I write. I don't like to write things that will please the public. I need to write what my characters tell me to write. So I don't want anyone telling me this is not sellable, this is not marketable. So I decided to go indie, and now I am, but just for the Italian market, I am taking into consideration to go traditional, but just for the Italian market. But I'm not even sure about that, because I translated the first book in Italian and it's going really well on its own. So I'm not sure. I probably stay in the 100%.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the market, right? Whether people in Italy buy from the stores more or they are like Americans and kind of just very used to buying on Amazon and Kindle. And yeah, if that's easier and you can reach more people like that, why even? Yeah.
Yeah, right now a lot of people have Kindle Unlimited, and I chose to put all my books on Kindle Unlimited because basically I want everyone to be able to read. So I know it's an expensive passion to read. I read a ton, so I want everyone to be able to read. Each of my book is on Kindle Unlimited, and it seems the Italian market is working for Kindle Unlimited.
Yeah, if it's working, why try to change it, right? Okay, I don't often get to interview people whose first language is not English, like me. Why did you choose English as is it just market consideration or something else?
The stories pop up in my head in English. I cannot write them in Italian. I had a hard time translating them in Italian. There are a few things. I write spicy books, and in Italy we have very few words that are not so crude and explicit that you can use. Even if my books are spicy, I always try to not be too crude or too explicit, or to tamper it down a bit. So in Italian is very, very difficult. And the other consideration is really the story come up in my head in English. I read it a lot in English. I watch movies in English. I don't know. Since I went to India, it has become more my first language than Italian for some reason that I don't understand. I still have an accent when I talk, and I still make mistakes that my editor has to correct. But I really like the language. It has a lot of nuances.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with you, especially on the spicy part. Like I never considered writing in Russian, but when I think about it, even if I like pick up a translation of an English book into Russian, I get to the spicy parts and I'm like, oh no, what I like these words, they don't like in English they sound okay and I can say them and I can read them and I don't have any problem. In Russian, it's either my upbringing or something. I'm not supposed to be saying these words. It's so weird.
Yeah.
So Italian is the same, apparently.
Yeah,
Okay.
and yeah, we have very crude words or medical terms. There is no in
No in
between.
between.
So
Yeah, yeah, I would say so. Like if I curse in English, I'm just like it's normal. If I curse in Russian, I feel like I'm uneducated. Okay, so you were mentioning that you wanted control over what you write exactly. So then comes the question of genre. So I would say you write kind of darker emotional stories. So how would you describe your genre and how did you choose it?
uh, choose it is not a choice. A character or both characters pop up in my mind, and they start to, tell a story. And I never know. I'm a total pantser. I never know where the story is going to go. At some point, I thought the right to say your name will end up. Very badly for how it was going. So I never know. I discover it like a reader in a way. And not all my books are dark, but all my books talk about the psychology of love. I do a lot of research. I was very happy for Illogical, the third book I published, because one psychiatrist took the time to send me a message and tell me, you nailed it. It's exactly like that. People who suffer from panic attacks and had child trauma react exactly like that. So I was very happy, because I take a lot of time to do my research and try to be considerate about what I write. I don't want to make people feel not seen or not heard. So my goal is, I create a kind of strange environment, like the right to say your name, a stalker, a killer. Uh, you don't find them around every corner, likely. To tell something more deep, the right to say your name talks about self-confidence, abuse in a marriage, being able to change for the person you love, but not because not just for her, but because of her, and because or him, and because you really see yourself better because of the person you are with. They are all romances. The next one will be a fantasy, but still in the romance genre. But they all talk about some aspect of the psychology of love, how hard it is to trust someone, how hard it is to see yourself as the other is seeing you, and how hard it is to overcome the trauma of the past. We all have them, little or big, it doesn't really matter. We all them, and they all influence all our relationship, not only love but friendship too.
You mentioned that you get characters kind of pop up in your head and you just start writing their story. Are any of the situations, plot points, character traits coming from like some situations that you've seen, that you know, that happened actually, or it's all your imagination?
Talking with the readers, I've discovered I put a lot of myself in the books without really realizing it. So at one point they were saying, you wrote a very tense scene. It was it was difficult to read because it was so tense, and I realized that I lived the same situation in another setting, but I lived that kind of situation over and over, and I transferred it on page. So yes and no, not consciously, but clearly my experience is transpiring, and yeah. Usually are readers who, make me notice.
Yeah, I think it's true for a lot of authors. At least in the beginning, we start with what we know, whether consciously or not. You can think of a situation that happened to you and try to put it into a story, or eventually it will come up one way or the other. So that's even if you're writing like terrible horror books, still there is a psychological aspect there. There's a lot of things that could, a lot of trauma that could be also put on the page.
Yeah, I love Stephen King, and he's a master in that.
Continuing the theme of you being a pantser, what's the word? Like
Panzer.
otter, pantser. Okay, yeah, I keep confusing pantser and panster. I don't even know if that other word exists. So, you being a pantser, the first thing you get is usually the characters, right? As you said, and then how your process goes for the first draft, for example. How do you start writing and finish the draft?
Once I get more an idea of the character, the first scene pops in my mind, and then I start to write, and I keep writing until I have something to say. Then I put it aside, let it rest for a couple of days, and unless something else pops up, then I reread it, edit it a bit, go back in the mind setting, and then I keep writing. Every book is really different. The first book was a flux of conscience. I couldn't stop writing. I throw away as much as I wrote. The second book was very difficult because I had to go back in the mindset of 18-year-old, because the story starts today, but it goes back with flashbacks to their early days. The third book came out very easily. The Right to Say Your Name was a nightmare. The the male main character was, not giving away secrets and not telling me what what he was doing, what was happening. So at some point, I thought it would end very badly, or it wouldn't end at all, and I'd have to give up the idea. Also because it's dark romance, but I really cannot write abusive characters, so you won't find non-con or dubcon in my books. I read them with no problem, but I really can write them. It's not a judgment thing, it's just a me thing. So I was thinking maybe nobody will read a dark romance that is more gray than dark. I don't know. So I was a little worried about that.
I would say it's definitely dark in terms of themes. Yes, it's dark in terms of emotions. It's dark in terms of the things that happen to the characters, but it's not dark in terms of the things that they do to each other, if that's I think that's what I'm trying to express basically. So I think some things in Inked got me by surprise because I wasn't expecting it to get like this traumatic. You do put a lot of traumatic situations into your books. How do you find the edge and the words to say it in a way that would be impactful but maybe not too gore, like is it something that you think about a lot, edit a lot?
Yes, that kind of scene I edit a lot. I write them on impulse, and then I go back and I don't change the plot per se, but I try to find the right words that will still convey how emotional and damaging the scene is, at the same time without making people feel bad or having to stop reading. I really hope it doesn't happen so much.
I cannot remember whether your books have content warnings in them. I'm not sure.
My content warnings are all on my website because some of them they have them also on Amazon, but most of them are on my website because Amazon checks the first pages. If the content warnings is not to his liking, there is the chance that you go into erotica or you go into a category that will hide you from the word. So I found this medium all the trigger warnings, and I always ask my editor, who is very good at finding the trigger warning I might have missed, to add whatever trigger warning she thinks even remotely can be there, because I really don't want to upset my readers, but at the same time I don't feel like putting them on my Amazon page.
Okay, so that is actually interesting. If you see a book, especially an indie published book, yeah, it is important to check for content warnings somewhere else other than the first page. I didn't know that Amazon does that with the first few pages because I mean the books such as Butcher and Blackboard, for example, it has like a gigantic list of content warnings, but I'm assuming that one is traditionally published, so maybe it is less important for them to hide this kind of stuff. But
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's not all, not a 100% time kind of thing. What you said is really important. So I'll try to maybe make a page just saying the trigger warnings are all there. There are trigger warnings and they are all there. That would be useful.
What I understood is that you're writing your first draft and then you also edit kind of on the go a
Yeah.
bit. And then you get to the end, imagine. And so, is there a situation where you have to like remove whole chapters, rewrite like full scenes?
No, not after the first book. In the first book, it was like, as I said, I throw away as many chapters as I wrote. Now I write a chapter, two, three, whatever it is. As I said, I let them stew a little bit, go back, read, edit, and go on. So Usually the last chapters are the least edited, but I really take my time. So I was running with the first book because I couldn't stop writing because it was the first book. I couldn't wait to have it finished. Now I just take my time. I play the scenes in my head over and over and over, and when I think I have the real scene, what is really going on, then I write it. If it doesn't feel right 100%, I wait. It may take a month. I had moments I couldn't write for a month.
And how do you handle these kind of situations with your editor, for example? Do you have specific deadlines that come, like by this date, I have to give it to my editor, for example?
Um, Yes, I have deadlines, but I am spacing the release, so I know the next book is ready, is 2 months that is finished. I'm letting it stew. I'm going back this weekend, and then I'll send it to the editor. I try not to, finish the book and then send it to the editor at the last moment. I prefer to stagger a little bit more the releases. This is a particular case because the next book I started writing when I was writing Inked, so is going around for as and so I released the Right to Say Your Name in July 2nd, and I will release this one October 31. The next one I don't know when I release it. I have a couple whips going. One is a collab with another author, so I don't know when the next release will be. Middle of next year, I think.
Well, I think it's nice to have, like, as you said, you wanted to self-publish because you wanted to have freedom. And I guess like there's a lot of freedom. Like, you do have to, like, if you have I don't know, people demanding where's my next book or something, and then you would be like, okay, I need to maybe release more often. But again, it's something that you can give yourself some grace and just, yeah, take your time with it. I think this is something that appeals to me as well. Like I love deadlines because I need accountability, but also I get too stressed even if I set them for myself.
Like I cannot do writing sprints. A lot of authors, do writing sprints every day, and every time I just go into a panic hearing them talk about it. I really can't.
Okay, so that would be my next question, actually. So you say that you write kind of when you have the characters in your head, when you have the scenes come to you. So do you have any regularity to that, or it's basically whenever you can?
Whenever it can happen at 3 a.m. in the morning, and my eyes pop open. I have it. I have to write it. So I'm usually tapping it on my phone like a crazy woman, and then going back to sleep. No, I don't have regular. I try to be regular, interacting on socials, interacting with my readers, but for writing, it's whenever it happens, I have to write.
So you do write on your phone. I'm
On my phone, on my laptop, wherever.
I'm thinking of actually doing that because I mean I have notes and I like when I have ideas I just have like a brainstorm notebook going on that is gigantic and I have like 8 of them for one work in progress going, and so all the ideas that I'm thinking of like at the moment I'm writing down there, but I feel like I need to take the next step because I'm so much on my phone that probably just to like get to the laptop would take effort. I will just take my phone and start writing on my phone.
It does. I don't know why, but opening the laptop is scary.
Yeah, yeah. And on the phone, it's kind of, I'm just going to spend this like 1 minute writing something. And then you don't notice and you wrote a scene. Like, okay.
Yeah, at the same time, I have a friend. She's an amazing fantasy author, and she writes all the time on her phone, and she's releasing one book after the other, one better than the other. So it works.
Okay, it does work. I just really, I hate typing, but I think it's the lesser of the two evils, of which the other is not writing. So, okay, if I can write on my phone, I'm going to be writing. Okay. So you then finish the first draft. I'm assuming you don't have a second one because you edit on the go. So and that finished one will go to your editor. So that would be
That
your process.
I finish, then I let it there for a couple weeks, 3 weeks if I can wait. I reread it 2, 3 times, do all the edits, then let it stew again for a while, and then reread it and send it to the editor.
So your editor would be a developmental editor or line editor. What kind of edits do you?
She does basically everything. When I sent her my first the first book she edited, which was inked, she told me I just needed the proofreading, and she would underline because sometimes my Italian brain takes over, so I structured the sentences as an Italian would. So what she does is she underlines a sentence that is not working in English, and I know I have to rephrase it as an English person would. But basically, she does proofreading. When I sent her the book, she agreed that it was just a matter of proofreading. The plot was there. There were no plot holes or whatever. At least until now, she didn't find any. So if it happens, for sure, I will have to delay the release and do a in-depth edit. But for now, it didn't happen.
Okay, since you are writing kind of just from your head, do you take care to check like the structure? Do you use any scheme for the structure of the novel, like the three acts or beats or anything else?
No, no. What happens happens. I No, I don't have any structure in mind. Things kind of really happen. One scene leads to the other, and at some point the book is done. Then usually there is still something to say. I did a bonus chapter both for the Mafia duet, Inked and Engraved, and the Right to Say Your Name. They are coming, but basically the story is over at some point.
Well, I mean, what is structure after all, right? The story has to have beginning, middle, and end, and the scenes should have consequences and like flow into other scenes. So the archetype, the biggest basic structure, is kind of
Yeah.
coming to us from reading a lot. For example, we read books, we know how they go. You know enough to put a cliffhanger at the end of one book, and then and then write the other one. So it is
That
also a
was
part of the.
totally not planned. All my books are standalone. That caught me by surprise as much as it caught the reader. I swear, it was not planned. And at some point, I was really panicking because I thought I don't have a second book. There is no second book. I had no idea there would be a second book. What do I write? So I didn't say anything about Inked until Engraved was ended because it could have been one very, very long book. In the end, it made sense to make two. And okay, yeah, there was the cliffhanger, but it was totally not planned, and I went into a panic. Complete panic because I didn't want it worked perfectly. It was exactly what I don't know, I felt it should happen, so I didn't want to change it to make the book end. But at the same time, I was thinking, what do I do? I don't have a second book.
Wow. Well, since every plot event like comes to you and you're not even sure how the book is going to end, is it possible that you will ever write something that doesn't end in an HIA, so not a romance?
I don't know. I really hope not, because I struggle to read books that don't end, well in a way, even if it's not the romance kind of end. Yeah, I like my books that make me cry, but at the same time, I hope not. I don't know. I really hope not.
Would you rather like not finish a book and not release it than release it with the ending that is not satisfiable?
It may be. When I thought the right to say your name would end in a happily ever after, I really thought not publishing it, giving it just to my close readers, friends, and whatever, but not publishing it. I really thought about it.
You could market it as not a romance, like something. I'm not really sure what the other genre would be, but something else.
Literary fiction. I
Uh,
found out that it's women literary fiction.
so women's fiction. Yeah, okay. So women's fiction can end however. It can also contain a love story, but it's not guaranteed. And most probably it's not going to be considered a good ending because it's not a romance. So we know it's not a romance. That means that it's not ending well.
Yeah, not about marketing. It's just I don't know. I don't really. It's the same as my male characters. I can write them any other way. The same goes for giving a happy ending. Until now, then maybe I have friends who like cackle about leaving the reader with a broken heart. I have them, and they left me with the broken heart. More than once, but no.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you shouldn't play with romance readers that way. You're going to be crucified. Any author would be crucified for leaving a story without a happy ending. Yeah. I think I have one more question about the characters, just because I read Inked and I'm going to read In Grade as well. And so I don't know if that's just like a coincidence that I picked up a book about Italian mafia. And just just out of curiosity, was it like super easy for you to write like an Italian mafia characters?
Um, so in a way, yes. And in the second book, you see a lot more about Italy for you to know. But in a way, yes, I've been always very interested in, when I was a teenager, mafia was rampant in Italy. It was really bad. They killed judges. And so I was really curious about it. I was really into understanding what was going on. And it's a thing I kept on doing. Plus, I have a relative that lives in the south of Italy. That's a judge, and he has fought against mafia. Yeah, it was simple. Of course, the New York part, I had to do research to understand the differences because it's not the same as Italy, of course. But the second book that is set mostly in Italy was really simpler, and I could put a lot of the things I knew into it. And at the same time, Nick is not the mafia boss. He doesn't want to be in the family. He doesn't want anything to do with the mafia. So that was my kind of character to portray, someone that is not as into it as it usually happens.
All right, so we've talked about your writing process, about your editing process. Let's talk about, well, things that I think worry every writer out there. Imposter syndrome. Yeah, I say it's something super fun, but I
I,
mean,
it is.
does it touch you a lot? What do you do? Do you have a support system?
Yeah, I have a support system. In particular, one friend, the first one who ever saw my books. We are friends since we were 19, so we go way, way back. I met so many other authors, and they are amazing, and they think as I do. It's a collaboration, it's not a war. People read, they will read every day. You cannot publish a book every day, so just cheering up for other authors, it's so natural. So basically this is my support group. But it happens with the whip I'm writing right now. I am at in the middle of the book probably, and I had to send it to another author, a friend, and asked her, what do you think? Because I was really convinced that everyone would hate the male main character. So that I wasn't able to translate how much he was suffering and why he was like that. So I was about to give up, but it's an everyday thing. It's not just that. It's no one really knows you. You're really small. You struggle every day to make yourself known. So at some point, you tell yourself like once a day, you are way over your head.
Yeah, yeah, I think it touches everybody. It just as long as you keep going, no matter what you're thinking, like, yeah, okay, I'm an imposter. Fine, I'm gonna do it anyway. I cannot speak from experience yet. I mean, I'm definitely getting imposter syndrome. I just didn't really publish anything yet. But yeah, I that's why I ask everybody how they deal, because I'm just curious what kind of mechanisms other people who actually published something are employing. So you did mention having a critique partner, as I'm assuming. So you're sending your manuscript to someone, and maybe you are also critiquing someone else's.
Yeah, yeah, we are reading each other. We are mostly betas for each other. Sometimes alpha too, but mostly betas. So we send the book, even if it's not finished, but at least is edited quite enough to be a clear idea what's going on. We do it for each other quite a bit. Yes, I aside from my friend, I have. One reader that really loves me, and she kind of wants it as soon as it's ready, so she is one of my beta readers. And another one is an author, and for now I'm stopped at three because I want different opinion. I don't want too many opinion because at some point they can become too confusing.
Definitely, yeah. I agree. I mean, as betas, I guess you don't really need many as long as they're each kind of helpful. Because when you have too many people, like for me it would be probably problematic, because when people tell me something, I tend to think they're right, and I'll be like, yeah, I need to change that. And when there are too many conflicting opinions, I'm sometimes even worried about showing my writing like to my husband, because he is always very he's trying to help, and he's always trying to give useful feedback, and he's always making suggestions, and I'm like, just like, yes, you're right, I should do that. And I'm like, okay, but I should be like selective a little bit more in my critic partners, because yeah, I will just change my whole book because somebody told me to.
I ask very specific questions, to be honest. So there are plot holes. Are the character believable, relatable? It's understandable what's going on in their head. There is something I'm not telling you that in my mind is really clear, but you don't understand in the book. Is the pace right? So it's not too fast, not too slow. Basically, these are the things I ask. I don't ask to give me ideas on the book.
Yeah, I think that's a very good approach. Like, just give parameters and you'll get your questions answered. If you don't ask for anything, you'll get whatever.
Yes, and sentences they liked that are really useful. When you know what they liked, you can use them to communicate what the books is about, and it's probably more effective than something that's going on in my head and no one understands.
Yeah, yeah. So your readers basically, or your betas, are finding the hooks for you that you can use.
Basically,
Yeah,
yes.
that's super nice. Is it ever something that you would never think would be a hook?
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes it happens, or something that I totally overlooked, and when they point it out, I say, "Oh, you are so right," and a video pops in my head with that sentence.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine it. It's like, oh, this is the whole essence of the book. You're like, what? Like, I wrote it like probably at 3 a.m. I don't even remember writing that. And then you tell me this is this essence of the book.
And the amazing thing is that every book is different for every reader, so getting different point of views, it's really amazing because rediscover my books through someone else's eyes. So I always tell everyone, pop in my DM. I don't care if were my arc or you read it on Kino Unlimited, whatever. Pop in my DM, tell me what you think. Even if you have to say to me it's horrible, I won't read anything else from you. It's fine. But I really like to interact with my readers. It's
Oh,
half the
really? So
fun.
you would actually accept, you would actually encourage like negative feedback. Do you read your Goodreads reviews? Is there anything like negative there, or you just like
I
skip them?
I do read it, and I agree. I know I'm gonna be crucified, but I agree to a point with the sentence, reviews are for readers, because I spent months writing that book. So I'm curious to see. Then I don't interact with anyone. I don't say anything to anyone, even if the review is horrible. I won't ever, for any reason, tell anyone anything. The only thing that I really hope and ask is, if the review is negative, be mindful and respectful, because on the other hand, there is a person who really love what they did. So it's fine if you don't like it. And as I said, it's fine if you want to tell it to me. I have no problems, as long as you are respectful and mindful, and you are not, ranting, or getting off on me just because you can, because I am behind the screen. I'm still a person. I'm still someone who really put her heart in the book. So whatever's going on in your head is fine. It's yours, but be mindful. That's the only thing I ask. But yes, I read the review, and the first few bad reviews were very tough. I was going to stop. They were really hurtful. Then in the end, again, friends, my readers told me, no, don't. Everyone gets bad review, and it's true. Everyone gets bad reviews, but you have to grow thin skin, because I know it's a tough comparison, but it's like someone tells you your son is ugly. Okay, maybe he's ugly. Please don't tell me like that.
Yeah, I think it depends on like personality, because like I had maybe what, five or something authors before you, and everyone has a different opinion that is personal to themselves, because somebody says they cannot handle reviews, even like if there is like 4 stars and everything is great except for one thing, they would focus and like overthink that
Oh.
one thing. So that, yeah, it depends. Like if it's useful for you, yeah, read it. Like if it hurts you, if you really like fixate on it and cannot handle it, don't read it. It's fine. Honestly, reviews such as like this book is crap are neither useful nor too much. Like to me it would be like, well, okay, like you didn't say anything useful to me, you just didn't like it, fine, okay.
Yeah, as a reader, I tend to skip them too, because they don't tell me anything
Yeah,
about the
exactly.
book.
It's not informational for you. The person maybe was in a bad mood, maybe didn't like the book, whatever. Like, fine. They expressed their opinion. That's okay. Then let's talk about success. So, what is your definition of success? Some things that you would see or do that you would consider, okay, I am a successful author now.
It's sadly goes back to sales, in a way, because obviously the more people who read you, the more sales or pages read on Kindle Unlimited you have. But I for me, success would be making this a real job. And for job, I mean something that gives me enough money to. So as I said, I had a company, I closed it. I'm investing in myself, but at some point, I was an accountant, so at some point, the math has to work, because you spend for the cover, you spend for the editor, you invest in advertisement, and at some point the math has to work. So that for me would be success. Of course, the more people read the book, the happier I am, not because of the money, but because I really want them out there. And I really hope people like them and, vibe with them. But yes.
Having writing as a full-time job is, I think, the most common definition of success. The same would be for me. Like another author told me that usually book number 8 to 10 should be either like your breakthrough, where you would start getting more and more and more sales, or maybe like get that one viral book, for example, or at that point you would be at a good level of like just having royalties regularly that you can start thinking about doing it as a full-time thing.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, what is it, 20 books to 50K, is that the
Yes.
Facebook group? Yes.
I, I am below amoeba for now. Let's
I
hope.
think, yeah, I think as long as you have those characters pop up in your head. Do you
That's
ever,
another question.
yeah, do you
Of
ever get scared that it will stop?
of course. Terrified. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, because at some point, when it becomes your actual full-time job, it's not like you can choose. You have to write.
I know. At the same time, I cannot. Mm, I cannot write a good story if it's not something that comes, on itself. I can sit down and write you a story. You give me the parameters, like, it has to be cute meat. I can write it, you a cute meat, but I don't think I can write a good one where the characters are that, when they have their own personality. And I think basically I can do that because they come to me first. So I know them as I know my best friend, basically. And I rage with them and I pissed at them and I talk about them, like Silas, the right to say your name, as a long history of being cited as, let's say, a stubborn man. Like I was writing messages that he won't talk to me. Like he was a real person. So yes, I'm worried about it. At the same time, I think if I cannot write something that at least I find really good, it's better if I don't.
Well, I mean, how many books is that? One,
I'm going to publish the seventh.
seventh. Okay. So, I mean, you don't really have to churn out books like it's a factory process, right? You
Yes.
can invest your money into advertising already existing books and
Yes.
stuff like this. So books are kind of evergreen, and you can just be smart about where you invest, and just hope that the inspiration will keep you at least at maybe one book a year.
Yes. Honestly, yes. But for now, I'm not worried. I have a whip going, a collaboration for another whip going. So for now, I'm not thinking about it. The ostrich rule. Head in the sand. Problems will solve themselves.
Yep. Okay, so you have mentioned that you are a reader also of dark romance. So I'm assuming you're reading in the genre, basically. Are there author
I'm
heroes that you have?
so my absolute author hero is Emily McIntyre. She's not exactly just a dark romance author, but I really like her, I admire her, and I follow everything she does, and I have her books and whatever. So yeah, I really like her. Not in the dark genre. The genre is Jodi Ellen Malpass. She has some books that I go back to when I don't feel in the right mood. I'm down for any reason. Her books just lift me up. I know them by heart. I can cite them word by word, but at the same time, I go back to them over and over and over. Um, so these two authors are really, and then not in romance. John Irving, Stephen King, Shakespeare is one of my favorite. I'm very diverse in my readings. I started with Agatha Christie when I was like 7, and from there I've read everything. Dostoevsky, whatever, whatever it was going around.
Why? Why would you subject yourself
I
to
love,
Dostoevsky?
I love him. I love him.
Oh, I think my experience was horrible. Like it was a school book. I had to read it for school. It was 500 pages with tiny little font, and
Yeah.
I mean, I know Crime and Punishment has a lot of like not a lot, but it has very deep themes and it's very important. But oh my god, I thought I would kill myself reading that.
And I read
But
The Idiot too. Well, to say the truth, I had very strict parents, so I wasn't allowed to go out very much. So all what it was left, there weren't, phones or whatever. So either you watch TV, and that couldn't be a 24/7 thing, or you read. So I read a lot, and it took me out of the house in a way.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't remember exactly what I read when I was a kid. I read everything that like my friends were reading or something like new and popular or whatever, but not anything in the volumes that I read currently, and definitely not romance. I had one romance somewhere like a long time ago who someone gifted me translated copy of some I think at that point it was a chick lit novel, and yeah, it was bad. Like I remember that I really didn't like it, but I guess it wasn't a good example of a romance novel.
Maybe it wasn't the right time to read it.
Maybe, and I also don't remember it being spicy because that I would have remembered.
My very first spicy book was the Lady Chatterley's Lover.
Oh,
That was
oh, I haven't read
amazing.
that. I haven't read that yet, but yeah.
That was amazing, and it was my entry point to spice. But very low on spice compared to what we read nowadays. But I'm talking 1990s, so it was
Oh yeah, yeah.
very
I
spicy.
think for me it was the first Bridgerton book. Basically, it was like, what, you can write that actually? Like no way. And again, it's not that spicy when I think about what I read now, but at that point it was like, okay, I did not know that exist. I need all of them and right now.
Yes.
All right. Do you know something that you consider your weakness as a writer, and how do you work on improving?
Uh, Basically, the fact that English is not my first language, so I have to go over sentences time and again before I get them right. If it was my first language, it would be a lot simpler to write. So that's my weakness. But thank God for editors. Basically, I don't know if not having a plot in mind, or not knowing where the book is going is a weakness. I don't feel it like a weakness. I feel it like something that is right for me. Maybe for no one else, but for me is really working. So I don't know if that is a weakness or not.
I think as long as your readers don't come in hundreds and tell you that, oh, listen, like this makes no sense, or this is too slow, this is too fast, or whatever, then I mean you're good. Like nobody needs to math it out if they don't have to. You mentioned you have ARC readers. How do you find your ARC readers? Just for any listeners out there.
Now I have a few that follow me. So as soon as the book is out, they subscribe to our creed, and then there are groups on Facebook where I found ARC readers. Thread was working for the right to say your name. Thread was working. I found ARC readers there too. Usually are smaller Instagrammers, and I like that a lot because I know they will care for the book, and they will look at it with different eyes than yeah, of course the big Instagrammers has more views, has more reach, but at the same time I'm happy when my book is in someone's hand, someone that is going to really care for the book. So that's the way I usually find dark readers. I didn't find that much for the right to say your name. I found um, more for inked. Um, Probably because I said, dark, sweet romance, so maybe it was a little bit confusing, but I prefer not to say dark romance and then have unsatisfied readers. I prefer to be, very upfront on that. But I had quite a few and I'm happy with it.
I mean, it makes sense not to tell people it's dark and then they'll come back to you saying it's not morally gray enough or something. So, yeah, I'm just kind of gathering statistics. I might go through my episodes and then create a tutorial for beginner authors. Like, look, these many authors say that they find ARC readers here and there. Some hire PR companies, some have these like sign up forms and stuff.
I have the sign up forms. I do them on Google Forms because I give their readers all the trigger warnings. I, of course, ask them to sign an NDA and to not share the book. In the case of the right to say name, I ask them not to reveal the name of the male character before release because it was, an ongoing theme that no one knew what the name was. But usually, yes, I give them all the trigger warnings and I ask specifically to tell me if I forgot something, if they find something, because sometimes I read the book and it was talking about anesthesia, and for the very first time I found my trigger warning because it remembered me of a personal experience. So I told the author, it's maybe crazy, but if someone else has the same experience as me, I really went into a panic. And of course, he couldn't think about it. It was a totally me and maybe two other people in the world thing. But when I found it, I told to the author because it really was upsetting for me. So yes,
Oh.
I asked them also to tell me every trigger warning they might encounter, even the smallest one.
Yeah, that's really considerate actually. Yeah, you never know what can trigger another person. And I mean, it
No.
doesn't mean that you have to be proud of the amount of trigger warnings that you have, but that just means that you care. And yeah, just somebody doesn't want to read it, doesn't want to read it. So, in terms of writing advice, would you say what would be like the best one you've heard and or the worst one, whichever one you talk about?
I'm going to, appear like I have a big head, but I don't listen to writing advices. I don't. Because, in part because what you said before, I tend to agree with people. I'm a people pleaser, and I tend to doubt myself a lot. So when I have a doubt, I go to other authors that I know and that I'm sure will consider me as a person before giving an advice. They won't give a general advice that maybe work for 99% of the other authors, but won't work for me. So I try really to not listen to writing advice. Everyone has an opinion. So like adverbs. Yes, of course, but if you read older books, they're full of verbs.
And yeah, actually, I mean, it's a version of a couple of other answers that I got, which is like when the writing advice is absolute and rigid and do this and only this and not anything else, then it's a bad advice. So yeah, you're
Yes.
completely right here. Choose what is right for you. The only thing is that you need to kind of have people to ask, people that know you, and that will give you like a personal advice, or learn it with your own bad examples and what not to do.
That can work too.
It's longer, but it works.
Yeah, it's longer and more painful, but it works.
You started talking about adverbs, and you're completely right. Like in the older books, it's completely different, and the point of view is different, and a lot of things are different. Books are much have much more descriptions in them. It's with our current trend of having very, very, very close points of view and trying to immerse ourselves, like just put our like face in the book and like just be inside the book and not like distance ourselves even like a centimeter from it. That's like the new writing rules come from there. Be as closer to the reader as you can be so that the reader thinks they are the character, kind of. So yeah, and in the older books, what is this omniscient point of view, where basically the narrator kind of is in everybody's head and knows what everybody's thinking, and no, nobody was bothered by that before.
Yeah,
So yeah.
but I'm still not bothered if I find a book where the narrator is omniscient. I have no problem about it. It depends. I think every writing style is good as long as they can get me in the story. If the story is good, is if I can vibe with the characters, if I get compelled to keep reading, I for me first person, third person, present, past, omniscient narrator, I can read anything. I may have a problem without punctuation and things like that. There are that may be a problem, but I haven't yet tried, so maybe not.
Since we're talking about the writing rules and advice, do you have any recommendations for my listeners for like craft books, podcast, YouTube channels, whatever?
What I can say is start to interact with people as soon as you can, before you have started writing, even, because that will teach you a lot. You will meet amazing people, most of them amazing. Create a community, and you will need a community. That's a staple. You need a community because writing is a very lonely kind of thing. So if you have a community, it doesn't matter if it is in person or online, everything gets better. And when they are also authors themselves, it's really, really useful and makes your life simpler. So that's my main suggestion. Then the usual sentence, the first draft is only to be there, is absolutely true. You don't need to make it perfect. You just write, and then you'll go back and you'll find what you want to change, even if it is everything you already wrote, and that started the process. And that's all my wisdom ends here.
Is there any wisdom that you get from craft books or other podcasts or YouTube channels? Do you listen to anything or read anything like that?
Um, not usually, not usually, because I am I have a bit of an anxiety problem, more than a bit. So I tend to, make other people problem my problems when I listen to. Yeah, I can tend to avoid. In this moment of my life, I'm really a solitary person. I interact with people, a little every day. Podcast and whatever, even news. Sometimes I avoid. I make a digest at the end of the week. I don't read the news every day. It's a phase of my life, but I wasn't like that a few years ago. I'm like that right now.
Okay, so before we finish, can you tell my listeners what is next for you? What's your next release, maybe if you want, where to find you as well, the website, all the handles and everything.
So the next release is a Romantasy, and I had a ton of fun writing it. Really, really a ton of fun. Is I don't know if the most spicy book I wrote, but it's up there. The title is Strangers by Fate, and I released the cover today, and it's designed by another author who's also an artist. So she designed my cover, Raluca Matara, and she's amazing. And uh, and uh, and then I have this whip that I'm writing, that is friends to lover fake marriage, and I'm totally in love with it. I really really hope to make it work because I'm totally in love with it, and the collab that is okay romance. So we're putting together our strength, and I will be for the spicy and dramatic parts, of course.
Of course.
And to make, as my readers say, to make everyone cry. And yeah, and I'm really, really excited about it too. And you can find me on Amazon, of course, on Goodreads, and I have a website, siennazini.net, where you can find all my books, all my triggers, and bonus chapters you can download, and that's it.
Yeah, you can also find Sienna on Instagram and TikTok. I'm going to put the handles and everything in the
Thank you.
show notes. No problem. I know I once literally forgot to ask an author any of that. Like, I'm just like, we talked and I'm like, bye bye, thank you. Very nice. Well, thank you so much for coming.
It was a pleasure. It was very fun.
It was very good to talk to you. I'm super excited for your new release and have a great day, evening, since we're on the same time zone. Have a
Yeah.
great evening.
Thank you. You too.
If you like what you hear so far, please consider subscribing and tune in for the next episode. If you have burning questions about writing you'd like to have answered, head to my Instagram page at kkalbabooks and leave me a message. Or use my email k.k.alba.books@gmail.com. If you'd like your favorite author to answer your question on my show, again, head to my Instagram or email me to let me know which author you'd like me to invite, and I'll try to get over my anxiety and do it. On the other hand, if you're an author who's published at least one book, traditional or indie, and you'd like to become a guest, well, you know what to do by now. Message me and let's get to know each other.